2, 1. We are live.
Good morning. Recognizing a quorum of commissioners, I call the October 10th, 2024 meeting of the Cannabis Control Commission to order. This meeting is being held virtually pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 and is being recorded. Commissioners Camargo, Roy, and myself are participating in today's meetings. All votes taken today will be by roll call. We have a full agenda today that I will generally summarize. We will start with opening comments from commissioners and approval of 4 sets of minutes. Then the acting executive director will present the acting executive director and commission staff report, including operational updates, commission's 7-year anniversary with our team from Digital and Creative Services, light and licensing data and updates. We will then proceed to staff license recommendations. There are 7 change of ownership recommendations, 46 license renewal recommendations, 2 provisional license recommendations, 2 final license recommendations, and 2 enforcement actions. There are 5 items in the commission discussion and votes section today. The executive director search subcommittee update, point of sale systems discussion, complaint tip line update, 7th annual activities report, and the independent testing laboratory listening session. I would, only because we do have guests coming in for the point of sale system discussion, I hope it would be okay if we take them out of order, just because when we have guests come in, it's tough to estimate what specific time they could be on the agenda. So we will be joined by some folks from Dutchy this morning. I will ask the commissioners wishing to comment or ask questions during any part of the meeting, raise their hand to be recognized. Again, we will start with commissioner comments and updates, and we'll go in alphabetical order, and I will turn to Commissioner Camargo.
Good morning. Happy to be here. Looking forward to today's agenda. And I have a lot of comments, but I will save them for probably the next meeting because.
Okay. Well, wow. We'll just.
Because there's a lot to talk about today.
We'll work right through that. All right. Okay. Commissioner Roy.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. I'll try to be brief today, but I do have a few comments. I want to take this time to thank Kevin Gilnack, Policy Co-Chair of Equitable Opportunities Now, as well as members of EON's Mass Cannabis Equity Council for inviting me as their guest during their October 1st meeting. We had a very meaningful discussion about a number of important topics, including the establishment of an industry tip line, which I will be discussing more in depth later in today's meeting. I also want to thank the folks at Paper Crane Cannabis for hosting me along with Acting Chair Stebbins for a highly informative tour of their outdoor cultivation facility last week. For those that aren't familiar with Paper Crane Cannabis, they are a family-owned and operated legacy cannabis company now operating as a Tier 6 outdoor cultivation facility, one of only 25 in the state, may I add, in the regulated cannabis market located in Hubbardston, Mass. The company was started in 2019 by husband and wife team Lisa and Bowie, both veterans of the war on drugs and members of the social equity program. Bowie is a 3rd-generation cannabis entrepreneur who served 2.5 years in state prison for cannabis trafficking and is a passionate cultivator. Paper Crane Cannabis was the first social equity program outdoor sun-grown farm in Massachusetts to commence operations in the state. Again, thank you to Lisa, Bowie, and their entire staff for taking time out of their busy day to provide us with a tour. Finally, thank you to all the folks who provided in-person and written testimony on Monday in regard to the latest round of regulatory updates and promulgation around delivery, micro businesses, and the medical use of marijuana program. Your input is both valued and a critical component to this process. Thank you for my time this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Roy. I'll offer some comments only because I know we kind of missed this at our last meeting, and if I delay it one more month, there'll just be more to get through. So we'll wade through what I have. First of all, I think all of us have the folks in Florida in our thoughts. As they awake to the damage from Hurricane Milton on top of the other one that also hit Florida. So our thoughts with them are with them this morning. Lots to discuss today. It's been a busy time since we last met and provided for commissioner updates. I want to thank our team for all their work helping commissioners to staff our events, our meetings, and obviously preparing for today's meetings. Since our public meeting in August, I've had the opportunity to visit Suncraft Outdoor Cultivators in Middleborough with Commissioner Roy, Canna Barn, an SEP dispensary that's recently opened in Abingdon with Commissioner Camargo to see their new facility and discuss social consumption. Commissioner Camargo and I met with the Mass Municipal Police Training Committee to discuss social consumption, possible agent training requirements. After our listening session out in Great Barrington that was well attended, Commissioner Camargo and I met with some Berkshire County licensees and staff to discuss social consumption over coffee. And then we stopped into Calyx, which is a women-owned dispensary in the downtown. Joined State Representative Sabadosa from Northampton for a virtual meeting with licensees and stakeholders with our team. Attended the Payments, Banking, and Compliance Conference in Washington, stepping in for Commissioner Concepcion to participate on a panel with other regulators and visit with our DC counterpart on social consumption. Visited the first Essex district with Representative Shan and Commissioner Camargo. She representative is on the Cannabis Policy Committee. We visited Novel Beverage and also met with some folks from Root and Bloom to discuss state of the industry and outlook for infused beverages in the social consumption market. I listened into here one of our CAB members, Dr. Jordan Tischler, and panelists through the Berkeley Cannabis Research Center on cannabis rescheduling. Great webinar if any of you are interested. Also joined Commissioner Camargo and members of Eon and Kevin Gilnack. Thank them for hosting a discussion on social consumption. Made a presentation before the Cannabis Advisory Board with Commissioner Camargo and our team on social consumption. And then, as Commissioner Roy mentioned, had the opportunity to visit Paper Crane up in Hubbardston. Greatly appreciated the time. What was really interesting to me, a big takeaway for me, was that Paper Crane has also had some issues around outdoor smell from their growing operations, and that they've taken some pretty interesting steps just in terms of planting and harvesting times to help reduce any of the concerns with odor from the outdoor grow. So great visit. Lots going on, more to get done. Just a couple other items I want to discuss. Our legal team, I think, has distributed to both of you a list of the pins resulting from our work on the governance charter document. Assignments and tasks are outlined in that document, and I've invited our chief of staff to work with legal and all of you to assist on completing the work on those pins so we can plan for the next public meeting to hopefully complete our work. Secondly, I do want to just thank my colleagues for their collaboration, especially with the amount of work we have on our plate as we head into the last few months of the year. Though I certainly don't know how long I may be asked to serve as acting chair, what I would like to do is bring forward some recommendations at November's meeting to streamline some of our work and engage both of you, as well as look to planning out a calendar for next year that gives us some room to engage in some policy discussion and explore some regulatory changes. While we're finishing our work on some current regulatory changes, and certainly we'll be working through social consumption, we have obviously heard from a number of stakeholders about the need for some other changes. Badging of employees is certainly one of those that keeps coming up, among others. Also add, we've certainly welcomed and appreciated these public listening sessions, the one we held on Martha's Vineyard, the one we held in Great Barrington. At the direction of Commissioner Concepcion, we're obviously looking forward to the one coming up on testing for the industry, being organized by Commissioner Roy. I think there's agreement that these sessions are incredibly valuable for us and allow us to engage with the industry and with concerned stakeholders. And I hope we can give some thought to continuing these into the new year on a quarterly basis as well. I don't know if any of you have any thoughts on that, but
I agree.
okay.
Yeah. If I may.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commissioner
No,
Camargo.
I'm so glad. Thank you for putting that out there. I think looking at the calendar and kind of thinking strategically about the next few months and also with the social consumption regulatory process, I think we have an opportunity to work on some other regs as well. And I think there's some things that we can get done in the next few months. I also want to just thank you for your opening comments. I didn't do too many comments, but I'm glad that I appreciate you including me because makes me realize how much work we're doing. The other thing I just wanted to say quickly was I just want to thank everybody who came on Monday to the public testimony. It was a testament to the industry, to the operators, but also just to civic engagement and folks getting involved to come here and, spend 3 minutes talking about, what we can do better. But also their concerns for the industry. So I just want to thank everybody. And I'm really looking forward to October 22nd in terms of us sitting down and going through the regulatory process. So thank you.
Anything you want to add?
No, just like I look forward to doing more public listening sessions. I think they're incredibly valuable and it can help inform our policy decisions moving forward. So looking forward, and I'll talk about it more later today, our next public listening session with the independent testing labs. So thank you.
Okay. All right, our next item of business, we'll jump in. We have several sets of meeting minutes from public meetings that we've held. We have 4 sets from July 11th, July 19th, August 8th, and August 14th. Those were included in your packet. Are there any comments or questions on any of those sets of minutes? Commissioner Camargo?
I do not.
Okay. Let's take these one at a time. Do I have a motion to approve the July 11th, 2024 meeting of the Cannabis Control Commission minutes? Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes from the July 19th, 2024 Cannabis Control Commission meeting. Commissioner Roy, do I have such a motion? Commissioner Camargo, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Commissioner Camargo, I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes of the August 8th, 2024 Cannabis Control Commission meeting.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Roy, would you second that?
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Roy.
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Next, I'll seek a motion to approve the August 14th, 2024 public meeting minute cannabis control. Let me start again. Seek a motion to approve the August 14th, 2024 meeting minutes of the Cannabis Control Commission public meeting. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So
Commissioner Camargo, would you second that? Motion made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Roy. And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay. All right. Let me just keeping an eye on when our. All right. We will continue with our agenda. The next item up is our acting executive director and commission staff report. There is our executive director. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And I do not, like Commissioner Camargo, my extensive report will be deferred to our next meeting. So I do have an important introduction to make, and I would like everyone to join me in welcoming our new chief of our legal team, Kajol Chattopadhyay. And I am so excited to have him on board. He will be leading our legal team. And I just want to give a couple highlights of what he brings to the agency in terms of his contributions that we expect that he will be making to the agency. So he has served on the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office as the Assistant District Attorney. He was also an Assistant District Attorney General in the Office of the Massachusetts Attorney General. He also has served as Chief of Staff at the Massachusetts Department of Transitional Assistance, Deputy Chief with the Massachusetts Incident Command for Emergency Assistance, and also Senior Legal and Policy Advisor with the Massachusetts Office for Refugees and Immigrants. I am so excited to have you on board, and welcome again to our new GC, the Chief of our Legal Department, Kajol Chattopadhyay. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Would you like to say a few words? We'll put you on the spot.
I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, commissioners, for a very warm welcome. I look forward to joining the team and to our work together. Thanks again.
Thank you. Welcome.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hold on, Debbie, just a moment. Commissioners have questions. Commissioner Camargo.
Yeah, no question, but welcome. And I know your resume is intensive and very lengthy in public service, so thank you. But Debbie, I also want to just say thank you to you, and also apologize to you publicly, because when at the last meeting, when we were talking about the GC and sort of the final steps and the final person, there was a miscommunication amongst us. So I just want to say, I really appreciate it. I was very excited to know that we hired a GC. And I know that at the moment, there was a little confusion as well on my part in terms of the process. So I just want to say thank you, because we've been making sure to get through a lot of these interviews and these processes and to make sure that we get the right people in these positions, moving forward. So thank you so much, Debbie, and welcome, Kajol, welcome. And just so you know, they had announced that you were coming. And I was like, wait, what happened? How come I didn't know this? What? So I kind of had a meltdown. And just wanted to make sure I knew who had been chosen as the general counsel, because it's a very key role at this agency. And I think with your experience, we're in good hands. So thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Kajol. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the commission, and I look forward to working with you. Very important role here. So.
Welcome.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, continue, Debbie.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Camargo, there's really no need for apology. I know sometimes with the recruitment process, it's very difficult for us to share certain information, because one of the activities that occur in the HR department is, maintaining a direct line of communication with our candidates. And there are times when candidates do not candidates are not, I got to make sure I say this carefully. Candidates may not be comfortable with certain announcements as of yet, and especially within the public space. And so we try to honor those wishes. And this was one of those situations where we were still, speaking with the candidate, and we were not at the point where we were ready yet to declare that we had definitively hired someone. So just wanted to let you know, no apologies necessary, but thank you for your comment. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Go ahead, Debbie, you can continue.
Okay, so with the extensive report that's coming at the next public meeting, my only other report will be for the ED update. and that will come a little bit later on in the meeting. I'm very excited to be reporting at this point, and I look forward to submitting that report to the commissioners and to the public. Thank you. And I believe Olivia might be up next.
Well,
Good morning,
Director.
everyone. Thank
Welcome.
you. Can we go to the next slide? Oh, here we are. All right, thank you. So here are the highlights from the licensing data. As you can see, we have 4 applications awaiting first review, 19 applications awaiting supplemental review. And also stated on the agenda, we have 1 application for provisional license consideration and 3 licensees for final license consideration. If there are no questions, we can move on to the next slide. All right, here we have the licensing applications data. And as we can see, the commenced operations compared to October 2023 is now up 21.8%. Next slide. In this data, we have the universe, Domino's Pizza Tracker, so the universe of all the license applications, which we are close to almost 1,800, 1,796 is the total number. There are no questions. We can move on to the next.
Olivia,
Yes.
Director, I have a quick question. So did we add somebody in the research facility? I know we had somebody who had approved for a provisional license, provisionally approved, and we have 5 that have kind of pending application. Those numbers haven't moved, have they?
No, so that's correct. So there's pending applications. That means they're either open, pending, so they haven't been submitted, and just the 1 provisionally approved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We can move on to the next.
Hold on, Commissioner Roy has a question.
Sure.
Thank you, Director Koval. On the ITLs, I see 16, but technically we're down to 15 now that are operating. Is that accurate?
I'm gonna actually ask Derek to chime in here because he put the data, and I want to make sure he gives us the best answer.
Hi all, hi commissioners, how are you doing today?
Welcome, Derek.
Let's see. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Olivia. Yes, so just as a general rule of thumb, so looking at this license application slide, the pizza tracker, as Olivia called it, and as it's colloquially been known. This kind of looks at the history of what the commission has approved and basically what applications have been submitted to us. So to your question there, Commissioner Roy, so this basically captures all of the different levels of approval that we've provided over the years. So looking at this would essentially tell you, to use the commenced operations number as an example. The commission has issued 704 commenced operations as of the time that we pulled this data. So as of this moment, there's probably more that have been done because this was pulled several days ago. So this doesn't really capture the number of active licensees necessarily in each stage. This is more the number of, pending applications we have, pre-certified, provisionally approved, provisional license, etc. So if you wanted to see the number of active, that's certainly a slide that we could put together at some point. But really what we would want to look at is the closure slide that we had presented in previous meetings, which is part of the slideshow packet that we put out with this, as compared to this number. So I don't offhand have the total number of closures of ITLs that we've had. I believe it is just the 1, to your point, Commissioner Roy. But that's certainly information that we can pull for a future meeting if necessary.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. And what prompted me is reading the activities report and the number of surrendered or not renewed or revoked or voided is 37. But if you could create a slide which shows the actual number, and I know it's fluid and it would change, it can change month to month, day to
Certainly.
day, hour to hour, if you will. But if you could do that, that would be very helpful. So we have the true, I get asked a lot, how many retailers are in the state? I do get that question a lot. I got it yesterday. And you look at this and you think 381, because it says, but it's not that. So it would be nice to know, the day of meeting, what is actually open for business in those different license types. So I'm sorry to give you additional work, another slide, but I think it would be enormously helpful. Thank you.
Certainly. Always happy to take on some commissioner homework. Yeah, and I think the last thing I would just say really is this kind of, again, I think subtly speaks to where the commission's at in terms of, we've grown to this point, and where this data used to be much more useful, because in the first couple of years, the questions we always received were, how many licenses are you going to issue? How many are going to open? It's, can we speed up the process, get more licenses issued? And now I think it's, we've reached this moment where the market's more mature and it's more evolving. And so, yeah, I completely agree. I think a slide showing active licensees as of a certain point in time would certainly be, something useful for public consumption. So I will put that together for you next month.
Thank you, Derek.
Welcome.
Director,
Thank you,
continue.
Derek. All right, we move on to the next slide, the HCA fund slide. All right, so we are now up to 532 HCAs. The number of model HCA received are up to 124, and out of those 124, 95 have been deemed compliant. We also have 47 model HCA waivers, and the total compliant HCAs that we're at so far is 220. And as you can see, the number of towns that have submitted compliant HCAs are up to 76.
Commissioner Roy has
Questions? Okay.
Yep, hold on just a moment.
Yeah, and this is a situation that we find ourselves in, Director Colville, and I just, for folks listening, so, and I know you're aware, and Commissioner Stebbins has been getting the email, that the certain municipalities that want to just keep the existing contracts in place and not come to the table to renegotiate. And I know the commission has taken steps to provide extensions up to 120, up to 3 times. But, and I know there's ongoing litigation, which we don't opine on, but that's what municipalities are looking to when they say that they're not going to renegotiate. So there's certain municipalities, one in my backyard, literally, that there's 3 licensees that have already reached out to me. And the reason I bring this up is so, we are aware, and there are a lot of moving parts to this in the law. It is the law that we review, certify, and approve. And we are doing our jobs according to the law. But we will have to have this conversation, not only privately with staff, but publicly. We don't want to see anyone be forced to shut their doors or go out of business. And we need to figure out at some point next steps. I know Commissioner Stebbins, you had reached out to me about one in particular licensee. So the reason I bring it up is we're aware there's a lot of municipalities. It feels like the majority are comporting with the new law, using the model, the tools we've created, the model HCA, the waiver. But there are some municipalities, and I almost feel like they're outliers, that are not, and that they feel that we are overreaching our authority. So I just want to say we're mindful of it. We're aware. And we will discuss it internally and try to figure out next steps.
Thank you, Commissioner. And as you pointed out, we're hearing from some folks that are trying to keep their licensed operation going in some communities, and we will work on that. I have to say, looking at these numbers, the number of communities or the number of model HCAs that were used, a template that we gave communities to kind of speed the process, make it more efficient, 124 of those. 95 other compliant model HCAs, even 47, 47, uses of our HCA waiver. And when you look at those 76 towns that are compliant, they range from Boston to smaller communities across Massachusetts. I'm just looking at the list, Coleraine, Athol, we can't thank them enough for the work that they've put forward. So as Commissioner Roy pointed out, more work to do on this. I think I even mentioned it yesterday in a conversation with our new GC. So we are hearing the messages that are coming in from our licensees on this topic. Commissioner Roy.
Thank you for pointing out. And I do want to also thank those 76 towns that have come together with the licensee and executed a compliant HCA or the model or the waiver, and we want to thank those. And speaking with Olivia previously, the intent. You have to look at intent is to what the intent of the law. And as Derek just said, the majority of licensees, like we've seen the rush, the majority come out now, and now the market's kind of leveled out, and the volume of licenses is not as robust as it once was. So the law is not just meant to apply to the smaller amount coming through, because the majority have already come through. So the intent of the law would in my opinion, for what it's worth, would be to apply to all, not just the select, the smaller amount coming through. So that's another thing. And I know there's more conversation to be had, but Olivia, you did bring up the intent with me, and it got me thinking, and I think, and I agree with you. And we will have to have this discussion privately and publicly at some point. So I just wanted to flag that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Definitely.
Commissioner Olivia, hold on just a minute, Commissioner
Yeah.
Camargo.
No, ditto to my fellow commissioners. But I also just want to say thank you to the staff, because when you look at the number of HCAs that have come in, and having to review that, and I know there's probably 1 or 2 reviews, that's a lot. And I know that last year, I was one of the ones that pushed for us to bring the date a little bit closer, so that this stuff could happen, that March 1st date. So I'm just really grateful to staff for doing the work, and just reviewing these things. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And actually, to follow up on that point, Commissioner Camargo, so this number, the 532, what this represents is the first unique HCA application per license. So when you actually look at it, like you mentioned, subsequent reviews, the number is actually much higher. So we actually reviewed much more than 532, because most HCAs have resubmissions. So thank you for pointing that out. The other thing that I did want to mention is that, unfortunately, we are limited to what our powers are. So we cannot compel a municipality to basically get into an HCA if they choose to stop working and contracting with the municipality. I mean, we have ways, we have the equitable relief in our regulations, but short of that, there's only so much we can do, unfortunately. So this is, to your point before, that we want to come up with ways to help, but at the same time, we unfortunately don't have the power to compel municipalities to basically play ball if they don't want to. So I think that that's important to put out there. Okay, could we, if there are no questions, can we move on to the next?
Continue.
Thank you. So here we have a little bit, additional numbers, such as number of HCAs reviewed were 483. Currently, we have 49 under review, and host community agreement determination notices sent out are at 380. In terms of extensions, now we are a total of 590 extension requests received. 54 are currently in the conditional pre-approval stage, where they still have 10 days to make their payment in order to receive the extension. And the total extension requests granted so far, we are 530, and the average number of days requested are 94. If there are no questions, I want to add another bit of information that's not on this slide. Okay.
Of course,
So,
go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to give you an update on the expired provisional approvals that we discussed during the last public meeting, not the public hearing, but the previous public meeting. So in total, we ended up receiving 30 expired license approval recipients stating their interest in moving forward with the process. From those 30, 2 have EEA status and 11 have SEP status. As of this morning, about an hour ago, we have not received any applications yet. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Director, Commissioner Roy has a question.
Thank you, Director Koval. Could you repeat how many SCP and EEA were in that?
11 SEPs and 2 EEAs.
Okay. And these folks have paid, like, where is that in the process?
They have not paid, they have not submitted. This was just an update on, we had sent an email asking folks to express their interest in moving forward. And the deadline was October 2nd at 5 p.m. end of day. And from those, we received 30 people stating that they are interested in moving forward. No payments have been received, no applications have been received. This is strictly just them emailing, telling us they're interested in moving forward.
And the pool was 121, so out of the 121, 30 replied.
I believe it was actually 120, but yeah, 30 out of the 120 replied.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's great.
Any other questions?
No, continue.
Oh, I think I'm actually all done for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna, if my colleagues will permit me, we're gonna adjust the schedule here a little bit and take the point of sale system item out of order, if that's all right. The folks from Dutchie, I believe, are with us. And we'll do this real quickly, and then we will get back to presentation from Anne Marie Burt before we finish up the acting executive director and staff report.
Mr. Chairman,
Hi.
may I?
Of course, Debbie.
I'm sorry, before you move on to the next agenda item, I just wanted to go back to Director Koval for just a moment. For those of you
Sure.
who do not know her or were not aware, she was promoted to the Director of Licensing. And that was reported out at the last meeting. So I just wanted to, make sure that I give respect to her title and to say thank you for your presentation. I think
Thank you.
you were great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
Thank you, Acting ED, and thank you, Director. This next agenda item involves point of sale systems. This past 4/20, a service disruption with one provider prompted calls from licensees on what we all have later understood and acknowledged as the most successful day of cannabis sales in the Commonwealth. I think that was certainly assisted by the fact that 4/20 fell on a Saturday this year. But the most successful day in one-day cannabis sales since our first retail dispensary opened in Massachusetts. Though we do not regulate point-of-sale systems, we all know they do interact with our metric tracking system. And obviously, we're concerned with the service disruption because of the impact on sales and ultimately revenue to our licensees in the Commonwealth. Dutchie Systems is joining us today. They've acknowledged the service disruption, and I know with their CEO has taken a number of steps to support their customers, our licensees. I wanted to extend an invitation to Dutchie to provide them an opportunity to discuss their response to the 420 disruption and steps that they have taken to protect against any such events in the future. We welcome Chris Ostrowski, Dutchie's Chief Technology Officer, to join us for a brief presentation. And then any questions from my colleagues. And I believe you also have a colleague with you, Chris, who may want to raise some regulatory issues. We're happy to hear those as well. But Chris, I will turn it over to you, and welcome and thanks for your time.
Well, absolutely. Well, thank you so much to the commission here for allowing me to join and discuss. You know, Dutchie as a business, of course, want to provide some information on you know, what happened on 420, a lot of the changes that we've made to address, you know, concerns there, ensuring that incidents like that are you know, a thing of the past. But yes, as you mentioned, I am Dutchie's Chief Technology Officer. I am also a co-founder of Dutchie. Before I move on to talk a little bit more about the specific topic at hand, you know, I just want to say a little bit about Dutchie. We started this company back in 2017 as the recreational cannabis market was beginning to grow in North America. Me and my co-founders, with many decades of combined experience in building enterprise-grade software, we saw an opportunity after looking at the Oregon market coming online and understanding a lot of the difficulties, a lot of the headwinds that were present for dispensary operators. We saw an opportunity for us to really advance, you know, a market, advance access, you know, and really help support the nascent and burgeoning cannabis market nationwide. We've continued, you know, that mission from day one through to today, which is, you know, providing software, providing tools that help our dispensary partners provide safe and easy access to cannabis, streamlining operations, you know, really providing a service level, you know, that we're proud of, that helps our partners, especially on the retail side of this market, thrive. That growth has been spectacular. Obviously, as we've seen cannabis recreationally, especially, continue to grow throughout the country. We were very, very excited that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you know, voted to add recreational cannabis. The growth of the Massachusetts market in particular has been extremely exciting to see. We are very proud to have been a part and support the growth of the Massachusetts market. And in fact, Dutchie is now headquartered, you know, just outside of Boston in the Massachusetts area. So Massachusetts plays a very important role in our business. We consider it a key market for the continued growth of our business, but more importantly, we believe that Massachusetts will continue to be a bellwether for other recreational markets, especially ones that may have not come online just yet. So we are the largest technology provider in the cannabis industry. We offer solutions, everything from e-commerce to point of sale to payment processing, but all of that, of course, buoyed and supported by our robust compliance integrations. So as mentioned, we work very, very closely with Metric. We work very, very closely with their leadership team, with their technical teams, to ensure that we have a robust and compliant integration with their system. Seed to sale tracking, we understand its importance. Obviously, everything that can be done to increase consumer safety will, of course, increase consumer trust. We also know that it can be a burden at times for operators to remain compliant. It is why it is so foundational and critical to our product strategy. We believe that, you know, any system providing commerce tools in cannabis has to be built on top of a strong platform of compliance. So our you know, longstanding relationship with the Metric team and our you know, many dozens of employees that have either worked in the cannabis software industry previously, worked in retail stores, we definitely leverage their experience to ensure that we're providing compliant and reliable solutions to our retail partners. So of course I wanted to, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and address, our failure on April 20th of 2024. We certainly acknowledge the impact that it did have on our retail partners. Dutchy is, as I mentioned, the largest provider of technology in the space. We operate at a scale that this industry has never really seen. And unfortunately, as we were leading up to the date of 4/20, and we were going through what we call our load testing, so essentially testing our own internal infrastructure, testing our ability to sustain a service level under immense load, we made an error in our preparation. And unfortunately, what we did see on 4/20 was an unprecedented level of traffic that did in fact exceed our expectations. So of course, we take full responsibility for it. There was, not to go too deep into the technical weeds, there was a failure inside of one of our subsystems, particularly a database that we did not foresee. It is our responsibility, though, to test our systems rigorously. It's our responsibility to ensure that we can find all potential issues, look around corners before they impact our customers. And to that point, we did not deliver the reliability that Dutchy has been historically known for. This was our seventh 4/20, particularly on the point of sale side, and this was a unforeseen but preventable failure on our side. So of course, coming out of 4/20, working directly with our customers one-on-one, at the end of the day, Dutchy is really nothing without our customers. We exist solely to serve our retail partners. So it was very important for us to have those one-on-one conversations with those who were impacted. I will note that this did impact a segment of our customers. It did not impact 100% of Dutchy's customer base. That, of course, does not lessen the impact. If one customer has an issue on 4/20, that is wholly unacceptable for us. So we have made substantial changes and upgrades to our own infrastructure and our systems. Again, wanting to stay out of the technical weeds, but if there is a desire to learn more, we can, of course, provide more materials to this commission if helpful. But we have made substantial upgrades to our infrastructure to ensure that this level of peak load and sustained load is serviceable for our customers. To kind of paint a little bit of a picture, what really kind of came down to was a concentration of load on one particular system. We have now added over 100x additional capacity and redesigned that particular subsystem, and leading up to the upcoming holiday season, starting really with Green Wednesday, of course the Friday after Thanksgiving as well. We expect to see sustained traffic levels. We have been testing our systems. We have been working with our customers, working with our vendors to ensure that our rigor to really stress test the systems that we do have can far exceed any of the projections that we've historically had, and of course far exceed what could be an expected amount of traffic on this upcoming season. And of course, making sure that that's part of our software development lifecycle, where every change we introduce to our system, knowing that we really are mission critical software for our customers, ensuring that every change we make to the system does not cause any disruption of service. Dutchy is not a perfect company. We do not pretend to be, we do not claim to be, but what we do is when we make a mistake, we ensure that our customers know that we will do absolutely everything in our power to make sure that the same mistake is not repeated. So Dutchy is here for the industry. We are here for the long haul. We appreciate every single one of our customers. We appreciate this commission's leadership, and we look forward to furthering and developing a stronger relationship, not just with our customers, but with the regulators, with those who have been charged with ensuring that the Massachusetts market continues to be a thriving cannabis enterprise. So I again, I appreciate the opportunity to come and communicate, what ultimately happened on 420. I'm going to pass the microphone to another team member of ours, Francine, who will be commenting on some compliance thoughts. I'm Chris at Dutchie.com. If any questions or thoughts, or if there's anything I can ever help with, like I said, we are very customer first. Everything we do is in service of our customers. And then finally, I would encourage everybody to visit business.dutchie.com to learn more about what we call Dutchie 2.0, which is our largest software update in company history, which we announced a little over a week ago. It includes a multitude of stability enhancements, stability updates, and also includes a number of new features and enhancements that we think will help our customers greatly interact with their own customers in a much more thoughtful and one-on-one manner, while also increasing their level of compliance and decreasing inefficiencies in their own stores. So again, thank you very, very much to this commission for the opportunity here. As I've mentioned, Dutchie is here for the Massachusetts market. We are a Massachusetts company, and I will lead this commission with that and pass the microphone over to my colleague, Francine. Thank you very much.
Chris, thank you, Francine, welcome. I just have any questions for Chris before he jumps off, or before we give Francine to offer her thought? Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Camargo.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much. I know we were able to do a meet and greet about a week ago, and thank you for all the information in the background and for coming here today, right, and educating us and letting us know exactly where you guys are at and what was going on. But Chris, I have a question. Does Dutchie have any corporate policies or programs that support social equity businesses? Any discounts, service fees, or anything that promotes some of the equity brands?
We absolutely do. Yeah, and thank you very much for that question, for raising that important topic to us. As you know, I commented, Dutchie was founded really with a core mission. A core mission of helping this industry, and this industry is more than just the retail side of it. It is important to us that a substance that has historically been used to disenfranchise individuals, especially minorities, is an important mission of Dutchie to help right and do what we can to correct those wrongs. I can provide details on those social equity programs. I don't know if maybe one of my colleagues from my team, maybe Francine or Brian Barish, who I believe is here, but we do provide substantial discounting for social equity applicants on our software, and we are always eager to support causes. Dutchie alone as an enterprise, we've donated millions of dollars to organizations like the Last Prisoner Project, helping to end the injustice of incarceration due to cannabis. And of course, anything we can do as an organization to help entrepreneurs, minority entrepreneurs, is very important to us overall. So happy to field any other questions, and also happy to allow any of my colleagues from Dutchie to comment on some of the programs that we do available. They can also be found on our website, which we're happy to share out as well.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Commissioner Roy has a question for you.
Thank you, Chris, for taking time to share that information with us. I took your advice and I went to Dutchie 2.0, and I just have a question. Can you talk to us about the new audit function and what that does?
Yeah, so when we say audit, particularly for our retail customers, we're really talking about auditing their own inventory. So inventory management is highly complex. Obviously, it's a regulated activity. It's important, of course, that it's done compliantly. But the updates that we particularly made to our audit features really have to do with the efficiency of tasks. Auditing, inventory counting, cycle counting, that's an activity where we've heard from our customers it takes hours and hours and hours of typically an individual doing a repetitive task. So a lot of the updates that we've done to our system allow for just faster activities. Anytime we can take a 10-second task and take that down to 2 seconds, you do that task a couple thousand times in quick succession, you're saving a dramatic amount of time. So that directly integrates and is ultimately, I would say, configured and mandated by what the metric system provides in terms of the controls around inventory. So directly answer that question, it really comes down to increasing the efficiency of our user interface and making it much, much simpler while still being a fully compliant solution when it comes to the auditing of a store's inventory.
And just to follow up with that, Chris, does this function integrate with metric?
It does, yes.
Okay, because this will come up later today in one of our stipulated agreements. So that's important to know that your platform or your audit function does integrate with metric. And my other question, is there any part of your software that addresses accounts receivables?
That's a really great question. Today, I would say no, but a major initiative for Dutchie in 2025 is working much closer with wholesalers. Anybody on the actual production side of the business. Historically, Dutchie has been very focused on the retail side. We have recently launched a number of new initiatives to help our wholesalers manage the presentation of their products, manage what we call the product catalog. That's a first major step for Dutchie to create a new relationship with wholesalers. We're certainly aware, not just in Massachusetts, but many other markets, accounts receivable is a concern. It is something that I believe technology can be utilized to help both sides of that transaction. To directly answer the question, we don't have any functionality today that would facilitate, I would say, financial transactions between a wholesaler and a retailer, but that is certainly something we are considering putting onto our product development roadmap for the year of 2025. And we're also eager to work with this commission to understand, what could be done and how our technology could be brought into the equation here to help with the problem, so that we can ensure that we have a healthy and sustainable market.
Of course.
And just to follow up on that, and that's very interesting to hear, because it is not only a Massachusetts problem, it's a nationwide problem, accounts receivable in the cannabis space. And if I could respectfully request any new information around that, if you make advances in that, if you could please keep us updated, or just generally as a rule, any updates to your technology, feel free to let us know so that we're aware as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll ensure that our release notes, any major initiatives that Dutchie is going to be announcing, we will do our best effort to make sure that this commission is aware of them.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome, Francine. Want to take a moment to introduce yourself and share any thoughts with us?
Of course. Thank you, commissioners, for inviting us today. My name is Francine Mohammed. I am Dutchie's Director of Compliance. I first wanted to circle back to the social equity discussion, the question that came in. We support social equity licensees strongly in many markets. And just as an example, not only do we provide discounts, but we were named New York's exclusive technology partner to help support their card licensees. So those are licensees which are owned by justice-involved individuals. So if there's anything that we can do to help support social equity licensees in Massachusetts, please don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to do that. So I wanted to say that compliance is at the heart of everything we do at Dutchie. And we understand that our customers use our systems, its tools, and our integrations with Metric and MassSIP to comply with Massachusetts rules and regulations. So if there's one takeaway I could impart today, it's that many regulatory requirements that retailers are held to are being achieved first and foremost through their point of sale system. And for that reason, strong relationships between state regulators and point of sale providers like Dutchie are essential to the industry. As an example, earlier this year, it came to our attention that some of our Massachusetts customers had questions about advertising rules. And we worked directly with CCC staff to clarify regulations, to educate our customers, and to ensure that our e-commerce platform adhered to Massachusetts rules. This was a great example of how direct dialogue and collaboration with regulators resulted in a benefit to the industry and increased operator compliance. And so, Dutchie's objective is to help regulators like you achieve your regulatory and compliance goals while doing so in a streamlined and user-friendly way for the operators. And we really appreciate the Commission's efforts to create a robust regulatory framework. To that end, we wanted to just provide some very brief feedback. First, we encourage the adoption of digital payment solutions like Dutchie's Pay by Bank. In an environment where security threats are a significant concern to cannabis operators, cashless payment systems can considerably reduce cash-related risks. We recommend the Commission encourage the adoption of compliant digital payment methods. Dutchie also recommends allowing adult use retailers to market discounts, sales, and promotions, particularly on their e-commerce websites. Allowing retailers to advertise sales and discounts is standard across many cannabis markets and would allow operators to remain competitive in an increasingly challenging economic environment, while also balancing the policy goals of protecting health and safety and fostering a sustainable cannabis industry. And lastly, we commend the Commission for voting to eliminate the 2-driver delivery requirement. We look forward to the official adoption of a 1-driver delivery rule, and this change really reflects the Commission's responsiveness to industry feedback and your commitment to a safe and robust cannabis market. That's all I have today, so thank you so much for inviting us, and we look forward to a continued partnership and happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Roy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Francine.
Thank you, Francine. My question is around whether or not Dutchie has or would consider meeting with the folks over the Social Equity Trust Fund, the Executive Office of Economic Development. And what I mean by that is in the law that established the Social Equity Trust Fund, and the Commission even voted for legislative outreach, where the fund can accept both public and private donations. And many times all of us have been in a retail environment where they ask me, I just store the other day, would you round up for the Red Cross or would you round up for a certain donation? And I was wondering if there were conversations that could be had around in point of sale avenues to donate to the Social Equity Trust Fund in such an instance where folks, if they choose to round up at the register, and that would somehow, because I don't know if there's a mechanism in place now to accept donations from, the public at large, if you will, but I think it's be advantageous to have that discussion if it hasn't been had already.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that question. So short answer is yes. Dutchie's point of sale system does have a donations functionality where customers can offer to round up the change, as you mentioned with the Red Cross donation. That has been deployed at scale across our entire network. We also allow our retailers to opt into social justice causes. One of the things that we do is we can print a QR code on the bottom of a receipt that is handed to the customer after they transact. That allows them to scan the QR code, go to a website, and actually make a contribution or a donation to different social equity and social justice causes, such as the Last Person Project being an example.
Just to follow up, Chris, then would Dutchie entertain meeting with the folks over at the Executive Office of Economic Development to see if there's a mechanism where folks could donate?
Absolutely. We'd be happy to have that conversation.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Chris and Francine, thank you very much. Francine, obviously, any specific details or anything else you'd like to offer on some of your suggestions for changes, please share those with Matt Giancola, and we'll distribute those to the rest of the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we need to circle back under the acting ED and commission staff report to invite our Director of Digital and Creative Services, Anne Marie Burt, in. Anne Marie, we didn't mean to skip over you, but Anne Marie is here to present on the commission's 7-year anniversary and some of the related activity that you've been doing on this topic. Morning, Anne Marie.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning to all of you, and thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for allowing me to present today for the second month in a row, no less. This past September, the Commission celebrated 7 years of safely, equitably, and effectively implementing and administering the laws enabling access to medical and adult use marijuana in the Commonwealth. Slide, please. Here is a collection of only some of the highlights of a truly groundbreaking and productive year for the Commission and the industry it serves, and is just a sampling of the vast quantity of work that has been accomplished in these last 12 months. And as you can see from these highlights, they include not only our business as usual standard operations and engagements, but also milestones like sales records and many forward-facing accomplishments, such as the historic regulatory changes and implementation of Chapter 180, the launch of a new cohort of the Social Equity Program, and listening sessions held with licensees and industry stakeholders, one of which led to a very rapid implementation of an administrative order allowing marijuana transport through state waters based on the feedback we received from constituents. Taken together, these accomplishments truly illustrate how we are not only meeting the moment, but also proactively preparing for the future. To commemorate this milestone for the agency and industry, we would like to share a short video we have produced celebrating the many achievements we have collaboratively achieved together over this past year. Slide. Big stack.
Anne Marie, thank you. Nice job.
Thank you. And thank you to our commissioners, staff, licensees, and consumers for another successful year. We're excited for the opportunities ahead. And at this time, I do want to dedicate this piece to our exceptional staff who work so diligently every day to help us achieve these milestones. And I want to give a special recognition to our Digital and Creative Services Multimedia Content Manager, Fiona St. Pierre, who produced this video entirely in-house with much of the photography she has personally shot for the Commission for the past year. So thank you, Fiona, for the beautiful work as always, and thank you all.
Thank you, Anne Marie. I have to say, you know, going back earlier this year when we were kicking off the 4th cohort, the Faces of Equity video was so well done that I shared it with a neighbor who teaches communications at Emerson College, and she wanted to share that with her students. I mean, just the impact of that piece, for those of you who have never seen it, go back and look at it. It truly was, one, well done, but the message is extremely compelling. So shout out to you, Anne Marie, and the team for doing that.
Thank you, sir. It was certainly a joint effort throughout the commission, so we're very appreciative for everyone's help on that.
Commissioner Camargo is smiling. I mean, she has.
Just like, it's always so awkward, right? These meetings, it's so quiet, but you know, I wouldn't be myself if I wouldn't start clapping right now and give you guys a round of applause and encourage everyone in this room to do the same. Ready? I just want to say thank you, thank you. That's a big deal. Amazing. And I just want to say, you know, I said this on Monday, there's a lot of work happening at this agency and folks don't see it every day. And to be able to watch this, it's the first time I watch it. So to be able to see it and just see all the work that's, you know, happening is exciting. It's why I signed up for this job. And I just want to say thank you. And congratulations to everyone. I can't believe we've been here 7 years and some of us have been here 4 now. I feel like it's been 10. So thank you, thank you. That's really exciting. Amazing.
Sure, right?
Yes, thank you. And Fiona's in the room, and thank Fiona, fantastic work as always. And thank you, Anne Marie, and the entire team. And where else can folks see this? Is it on our social media platforms right now, our website, if folks want to watch it again?
Yes, actually, it is on our YouTube channel as well as in the slider on the homepage on our website. And we did post it to all of our social channels back on September 27th as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Appreciate it. And apologies, we didn't intend to skip over you, but appreciate the great work.
No apologies necessary. Thank you all. I will see you later.
Ready to keep going? Anybody need a break?
5-minute break. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will take a 5-minute break and return at 11:20. A little over 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Takes 5 minutes to walk to the restroom.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you. We are moving on to staff recommendations on licensure. I think Jamie, welcome. You're leading leading us through changes of ownership, renewals, provisionals, and finals. Am I correct?
I will be doing that today, yes.
Awesome. All right. We will begin with staff recommendations on changes of ownership.
Okay. There are 7 changes of ownership and control requests for Commission's consideration today. The first licensee is Assured Testing Laboratories, LLC. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 1 adult use license and are requesting to add 1 individual to the license. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval to be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments on Assured Testing Laboratories, LLC change of ownership? Seeing none, seek a motion to approve the change of ownership for Assured Testing Laboratories, LLC. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Commissioner Roy, would you second that?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Roy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay, go ahead, Jamie.
Thank you. The licensee here is Good Feels Inc. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 1 adult use license and are requesting to add 2 individuals and 1 entity. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Are there any questions or comments on this change of ownership? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the change of ownership of Good Feels Inc. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So moved.
Is there a second, Commissioner Camargo?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Roy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay, Jamie.
The next licensee is Green Choice Dispensaries, LLC. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 1 adult use license and are requesting to add 1 individual and 1 entity. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Any comments or questions on Green Choice Dispensaries LLC? Seeing none, I seek a motion to approve the change of ownership of Green Choices Dispensaries LLC. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Would you second it, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Roy, Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay, Jamie, number 4.
I apologize if I'm going to say this next name incorrectly, but the licensee is JBAM Inc. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 2 adult use licenses and are requesting to add 2 individuals. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Seeing none, I seek a motion to approve the change of ownership for J Inc. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So moved.
Is there a second, Commissioner Camargo?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Roy. And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay, on to number 5, Jamie.
The licensee here is NEMAT LLC. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 2 adult use licenses and are requesting to add 4 individuals and 1 entity. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval to be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none. I'll entertain a motion to approve the change of ownership for NEMAT LLC. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Do I have a second, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Roy, Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Number 6.
The licensee here is Silver Therapeutics, Inc. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 4 adult use licenses and are requesting to add 3 individuals and 2 entities. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, any comments or questions on Silver Therapeutics?
Let's have a comment at the end after we vote.
Sure. Okay. Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the change of ownership for Silver Therapeutics, Inc. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So moved.
Is there a second, Commissioner Camargo?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, take a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Before we move on to number 7, Jamie, Commissioner.
We'll reserve till after we vote on the last one.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, Jamie, go ahead. Number 7.
The licensee here is Silver Therapeutics of Palmer, Inc. They are seeking a change of ownership and control of 1 adult use license and are requesting to add 3 individuals and 2 entities. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the Commission's review and consideration. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, any comments or questions on Silver Therapeutics of Palmer, Inc.? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the change of ownership for Silver Therapeutics of Palmer, Inc. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Do I have a second, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Roy,
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Commissioner Roy.
Thank you, Chair Stebbins. And mine, and thank you, Jamie. It's more of a comment than a question. As we look to move forward in the next fiscal year and beyond, and we're looking at our platforms, and we're no longer a startup, and how do we modernize? We've talked about that. And one of the areas that I would advocate for is under our license tracker, where it's great we have that. And folks can look and see alphabetically the name of the entity, the location of the entity, and the executive summary. But, as I have in the past, I've always, called for more transparency, the better. And I would love to see the ownership and control as part of the license tracker platform. Many folks, has been a topic of conversation about the license caps and maintaining the license caps. And I just think that transparency around ownership and control is important in the industry in Massachusetts. And I would just advocate if we do address that particular portal or a platform in our software, that if we could add that information, I think it would be beneficial for the entire industry to see. The Secretary of State's office, you can easily go to their platform and see who the owners are. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if it's something we can do sooner rather than later, I would love to see that information added and around change of ownership, or all, not even change of ownership, all ownership and control. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Jamie, we have a number of renewal licenses. I did not receive any recusals. So Jamie, I think we can just take and approve this as a roster. I seek a motion to approve the renewal licenses numbered 1 through 46 as indicated on the agenda. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy? Do I have a second, Commissioner Camargo?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. No further comments or questions. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo? Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. The slate of renewal licenses are approved. All right. Jamie, you want to take us into provisional licenses?
I'd be happy to. Thank you. We have 2 provisional licenses for commission consideration today. The first is Moda 420 LLC. The proposed location is 6 Renfrew Street in Adams. They are seeking a marijuana delivery operator license, and the applicant received expedited review. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the commission's review and consideration. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. I believe we have 2 proposed conditions for this license, one from Commissioner Roy and one from myself. Commissioner Roy, would you like to offer your motion?
Sure, thank you. For Moda 420 LLC, delivery operator, prior to final licensure in accordance with 935 CMR 500 146 5G, please include the phone number for the Massachusetts Substance Use Helpline on your consumer education. Let me just pause that I was very pleased to see in their dispensing plans, SOPs, that they did incorporate consumer education. You just need to add the Substance Use Helpline. So I was very pleased to see that. Just need to make this edit. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roy. My proposed motion is prior to final application for licensure, consider revision to your positive impact plan, goal number 2, and consider hiring or other strategies to disproportionately impact area designated communities in closer proximity to the city of Adams in accordance with 935 CMR 500.101 1A11 and provide any update to CCC licensing division. Very excited to see a SCP delivery operator ready to open their doors or moving towards opening their doors up in Adams, Massachusetts. Reading through their positive impact plan, reading through the diversity plan. Their positive impact plan talked about trying to recruit folks from the disproportionately impacted areas of Holyoke and Pittsfield. Obviously, Adams is right next door to North Adams. I know this could be their base of operations in Adams and they'll deliver elsewhere, but certainly invite them to consider any outreach to the city of North Adams as part of their positive impact plan. If there are no other comments or questions on this licensee, I'll seek a motion to approve the provisional license for Mota 420 LLC MDA 1327, subject to the conditions articulated by Commissioner Roy and Commissioner Stebbins. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Commissioner Roy, would you second that?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Okay. Jamie, you'd like to introduce the next one?
Yes, the licensee here is SOF Estate LLC or SAWF Estate LLC. The proposed location is 879 Blue Hill Avenue in Boston. They are seeking a marijuana retailer license and received expedited review. Additional information is contained within the executive summary for the commission's review and consideration. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Jamie. I believe Commissioner Roy, you have one condition for this license.
Yes, thank you. For SAWF Estate LLC Retail, prior to final licensure in accordance with 935 CMR 500 146G, please include the phone number for the Massachusetts Substance Use Helpline on your consumer education.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this provisional licensee? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the provisional license for SAWF Estate LLC MRN 284312 subject to the condition articulated by Commissioner Roy. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So moved.
Commissioner Camargo, would you second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, take a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Roy,
Aye.
and Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. 3 in favor, none opposed. All right, Jamie, let's move on. We have 2 staff recommendations for final licenses.
Yes, and these are usually read together. So commission staff recommend review and decision on these final licenses, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Any questions on these 2 final licenses? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff recommendation on final licenses for Apatho Therapeutics, Dartmouth, Inc., MR2 83521, and Green Gold Group, MR 284703. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So moved.
Is there a second, Commissioner Camargo? Any other comments or questions? These final licenses, seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Roy, and Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. 3 in favor, none opposed. Congratulations to those final licenses. All right, Jamie, I think that's it, right?
It is. Before I go, I would just like to thank you all commissioners for having me and letting me present to you and to the public today. And I don't think it was too bad of a grilling, Mr. Chairman. I think you referenced last month. But thank you. I was really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that I did it. And I just want to thank the communications team for that amazing 7-year anniversary video. It was incredible. And then I'd also like to echo Commissioner Camargo's thanks for the investigations and enforcement team, specifically licensing, investigations, testing, enforcement council, and the projects team for their diligence in moving these applications and licenses forward. In addition, of course, to the work reviewing the HCAs and all of the other work done every day.
All right, Jamie, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great
Have
day.
a good rest of the day.
Thank
All
you
right.
as well.
We will move on to enforcement actions, and we are joined by Enforcement Counsel, or Chief Enforcement. Oh, we'll wait for him to walk up here. We have 2 enforcement actions for consideration today. We're joined by members of our Enforcement Council team, Tim Gooden and Phil Scheffler.
I know.
How did I miss that? Sorry.
They'll pronounce it, just so we get it.
Sorry, Phil.
Schreffler.
Schreffler.
It's a
Schreffler. Schreffler. I see him every Monday. I don't know why I missed that. Anyways, Bill, I believe you were up first to discuss Ascend Mass LLC, but I'll invite our Enforcement Counsel to make any opening comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, commissioners. Good morning. So I will just present a brief introduction to our enforcement actions and some reminders just in terms of where all the civil penalties go and what that is used for. And then I will hand it over to Phil to get into the first stipulated agreement before you. So today, the Investigations and Enforcement Department is presenting 2 stipulated agreements for your consideration and ratification. Both of these agreements are the result of diligent work and collaboration by all of the teams within investigations and enforcement, as well as other teams in the agency. In particular, I'd like to note the Enforcement Council staff, investigations, testing, and licensing teams, as well as our projects team too. Both of these agreements follow from informal dispute resolution conferences held between the parties that were offered to each licensee. These are the result of cooperation between the parties during those negotiations, and they've resulted in the proposed terms to resolve these matters before you. I would also like to note that all civil penalties that are proposed in these agreements are the result of agreements between the parties at IDR in accordance with General Laws Chapter 94G, Section 14. These will be deposited into the Marijuana Regulation Fund. So that fund, just as a reminder, is in part appropriated to the Commission and the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources for implementation, administration, and enforcement of the Commonwealth's marijuana laws and regulations. But in addition to that, 15% of that fund is transferred annually to the Social Equity Trust Fund. And then remaining funds are also subject to appropriation and used for different public and behavioral health initiatives. These include informed substance abuse treatment and early intervention services, as well as public safety, municipal police training, and the Prevention and Wellness Trust Fund, as well as programming for restorative justice, jail diversion, workforce development, and industry-specific technical assistance, as well as mentoring services for economically disadvantaged persons from communities that are disproportionately affected by marijuana prohibition and enforcement. And then finally, I'd also like to note too that each agreement here incorporates elements of affirmative relief into these as additional compliance measures. So these terms are in addition to civil penalties, and they are a tool used by the Commission and worked out with the licensee at IDR that are specific to the underlying violations. And really they are used as a tool by the Commission and the department to ensure continued compliance and cooperation between the Commission and the licensees too. And really as an effort to show their continued improvement and work towards attaining good standing with the Commission. And so we can check to make sure that any of these specific violations are not recurring in the future. So with that introduction, I will hand it off to Phil for the first matter. Oh, yes, excuse me.
Sure.
Yeah, and thank you, Enforcement Counsel Gooden, for that. My question is not related specifically to any of the stipulated agreements, just an overall. In reading the activities report, it said that there, and I know this, you know, the time of printing of that, the numbers change, but as a snapshot in time, there's 990 total inspections, 450 notices of deficiency, 9 enforcement actions, and 4 informal dispute resolutions in affirmative relief up to that total $620,000. It does not include these two because they have not been ratified by the Commission. And my question is because folks have asked me this. The fines that are assessed, not only through stipulated agreements, but fines that are assessed, are those available for the public? Where on the website can folks go to not only see these agreements, but to see previous fines that have been assessed?
Yeah, of course, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
So Commissioner Roy, that's a very good question. And after both of these stipulated agreements are presented, I was going to ask for an opportunity just to kind of update in terms of where we are this year with our enforcement actions. I will save that till the end, just contingent on the board's actions or votes today. But in terms of prior enforcement actions and resolutions of those, they include stipulated agreements and final orders, but they also include other different enforcement tools such as quarantine orders, cease and desist, et cetera. So those can be found in the public meeting materials for whichever meeting those matters are available for or are up for board consideration. They are also included on the enforcement actions section of the Commission website. So that is found in under public materials, and then there is a tile for enforcement actions, and that shows all of the historical ones.
So they're all there from?
Yep, that's my understanding that they're all there. I know that the investigations enforcement team doesn't maintain that area of the website, but we do work closely with Anne-Marie Burt, our Digital and Creative Services Director, as well as our comms team. So if there's anything that is missing, we can take a look for that. But yeah, it's, I believe, I was just looking at it earlier this morning, and I believe all of them are up there. If there are not, we can follow up.
Okay, and the NODs particularly, those are in the reports that we receive, like the post-provisional license inspection or post-final license. Are those anywhere else?
I would have to defer to our Director of Investigations, Catherine Bankowski, or our Chief of Investigations and Enforcement, Noam Khaleesi Kamalo, to answer that. I believe those are held internally, but I do not believe there's a kind of public repository for folks in the public
Okay.
to actually access those.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Of course.
All right. Mass LLC.
Thank you, commissioners. What you have before you here for ratification today is a stipulated agreement resolving issues at Ascend Mass's Boston facility that were found in 2022. Before I get into the meat of this, I want to make a specific thank you, and that is to the work of our exceptional investigators who laid the bones of this matter down, and to the tireless work of Attorney Koval, who, before she was made Director of Licensing, worked on this matter when she was a part of our team, and without whom this simply could not have been possible. More specifically, Ascend reported itself in this instance as having a series of failures in the scanning and recording of transactions in Metric. Further investigation by Commission staff revealed that agents were scanning the same tag for multiple products. Products set aside for online order were used to fulfill in walk-in orders, and then those online orders were filled from different batches. Additionally, and topically for today, there were syncing errors between their point of sale, leaf logic, and Metric, and these were not promptly or adequately resolved, which in fact resulted in certain negative inventory counts appearing in Metric, which just simply should not happen. Ultimately, this conduct resulted in 202 products being physically present at the facility, but without a presence in Metric. Another 689 products appeared virtually in Metric, but were not at the facility, for a total of 891 products improperly accounted for, among other SOP failures detailed in the stipulated agreement. Through our negotiations, 3 violations have been agreed to. The first is a failure to follow real-time inventory practices under 935 CMR 500-1058C. A failure to follow its SOPs. These SOPs are related to storage and waste disposal, security, and record keeping under 935 CMR 500-105. And finally, a finding that the conduct involved here was so egregious as to amount to incompetent or negligent operation in violation of 935 CMR 500-457F. As a penalty for these violations, Ascend has agreed to a payment of $85,000 to be paid to the Marijuana Regulation Fund. And in addition to restore the confidence of both the Commission and the public, Ascend has agreed to a number of elements of affirmative relief, which are specifically detailed in the agreement, but briefly, they will be on a probationary period for 12 months, where any substantial violation of our regulations will be grounds for suspension or revocation. Additionally, they are to identify an audit manager for the Boston location, who twice monthly for a total of 24 audits, will provide a report on the 15th and last day of each month. If there are any discrepancies in their inventory during this time, the report will include the specific nature of the discrepancy as well as the steps taken to resolve it. Further, the staff, including management, will retake Metric trainings and RVT before the probationary period expires. Any failure to follow these requirements will result in a written warning. If they fail to correct the deficiencies in that warning within the time frame contained in that warning, they will be have an automatic fine of $2,500 per violation. But thank you. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Roy?
The Mass Advanced Retailer webinar, is that hosted by us? Who facilitates that? You know, I've never heard of that.
I believe that's a Metric training.
Training?
Yes.
It is, yes.
That is not a training I have been through. Commissioner Camargo, you have any questions?
No, no. Thinking about I don't have a question. I guess it's just a comment. I was just thinking how much of the funding is going to the Social Equity Trust Fund. So it's nice to be able to have the fund and that, not that we want to see this all the time, but that there's a place to put some of that funding.
Sure, right.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Or a comment and a question. So when we had the folks from Dutchy there, and not that, we advocate for any particular platform over another one, but my questions were about the, their new feature for the audits and whether it would interface with Metric, and they said it did. So that was more for public awareness, as far as that goes. And it seems like they have this new audit feature, so it might come in handy for some folks that are using that platform. And that's why I knew it was germane to this conversation. So.
Seeing no other questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the stipulated agreement as recommended by Enforcement Counsel for Ascend Mass LLC. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Is there a second, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions?
Just thank you to the INE team, Enforcement Counsel, all the attorneys that worked on this, all the project managers, staff, whoever was involved. I know these don't happen overnight, and we need to rely on the facts, and so it takes time to compile them. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Turn it back over to EC Gooden.
I'm going to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo,
Yeah, just quick comment, or should I wait up to the end?
you can wait. You want to come back to it?
Yeah, I'll come back.
Okay. Your vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Commissioner Camargo?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I just want to say thank you, for your thoroughness. And I know we met internally to just obviously understand the stipulation agreements twice. So I just want to thank you all for your work and your legal expertise. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Enforcement Counsel Gooden. You have Cure Relief Inc.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners. This stipulated agreement before you is relative to Cureleaf Incorporated, and specifically 2 licenses, MC 281255 and RMD 385C. These are 2 cultivation facilities operated by the licensee, one in Amesbury and one in Webster. I will refer to them generally just as the Amesbury and Webster facility for simplicity here. So for your consideration is a proposed final order and stipulated agreement following the issuance of a letter of enforcement intent to Cureleaf on November 3rd, 2023, and an informal dispute resolution conference held in January earlier this year. From December to May 2021, Cureleaf reported at least 13 test samples cultivated at its Amesbury facility tested positive for the presence of the pesticide bifenthrin. Also in April of 2021, Cureleaf reported that 2 test samples cultivated at its Webster facility tested positive for the pesticide imidacloprid. So following the initial reports from Cureleaf in December of 2020, the Commission, in coordination with our partners at the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, began an investigation into possible non-compliant applications of pesticides by Cureleaf. Through that investigation, Commission and MDAR investigators identified that Cureleaf failed to utilize best practices to limit contamination of marijuana, exhibited negligence in its operation of both the Amesbury and Webster cultivation facilities, and failed to maintain employee personnel records in accordance with Commission regulations. So specifically, the Commission found that the Amesbury facility was not properly sealed from outside contaminants. Cureleaf also failed to take additional precautions to prevent contamination of marijuana grown at that facility, while a third-party contractor hired by Cureleaf applied pesticides on the exterior of the facility, and additionally, while a vendor was contracted to construct additional parking outside the Amesbury facility, which disturbed contaminated soil and further increased the risk of contamination. And also Cureleaf held unauthorized chemicals on site at that facility, further risking contamination. So additionally, at both the Amesbury and Webster facilities, Curaleaf had a systemic problem of not following best practices to limit contamination. And these practices included allowing vendors to prop open exterior doors for extended periods of time, as well as failing to properly seal gaps and leaks in doorways and ductwork. And also agents of the licensee had propped doors open during harvesting on a routine basis. These failures resulted in multiple pesticide detections originating from both facilities. In addition to those failures, the commission found that Curaleaf did not maintain employee personnel records in accordance with their regulatory obligations. Specifically, Curaleaf did not include 2 written warnings issued to staff members at its Amesbury facility that were relative to the application of a commercially available pesticide inside the facility. I do want to note that that application was not on cannabis plants and it was not in a room where cannabis was being cultivated. So the commission has not found that that application resulted in any of these contaminations. The last part I do want to note is that the commission also found through its investigation that Curaleaf at its Amesbury facility had a practice of applying a mixture of Xeritol 2.0 and Capsule in rooms where plants were being cultivated at all stages of the growth cycle. At that time, Xeritol was not approved for use on marijuana. And so MDAR, being the primary holder of jurisdiction over pesticide use and application, they did enter into an administrative consent order with Curaleaf, and in that order, they did not find a violation of any of the applicable laws relative to pesticide application and use. And similarly, that's not a finding in the stipulated agreement before you today. But also notably, I do want to say that all product batches that detected the presence of prohibited pesticides were destroyed and did not reach consumers. So the stipulated 2 violations in this agreement are violation 1, Curaleaf failed to utilize best practices to limit contamination of marijuana cultivated at its Amesbury and Webster cultivation facilities in violation of 935 CMR 500.120 sub 9 and 935 CMR 501.120 sub 9. The second violation is Curaleaf's systemic failure to limit opportunities for cultivation amounted to negligent operation of these facilities in violation of 935 CMR 500 457F and 935 CMR 501 457D. And then the third and final violation is Curaleaf failed to include written warnings for pesticide use in the Amesbury facility in employee personnel files in violation of its obligations under 935 CMR 500 105 9D2F. That's a long one. The proposed stipulated remedies through the proposed agreement, the parties have agreed to resolve this matter through the payment of a civil penalty and affirmative relief. The terms and conditions agreed to during that negotiation are as follows. An $80,000 fine that will be payable within 30 calendar days of the date of ratification by the commission. A 6-month probationary period for the licenses that are subject to this action. During that time, the licensee must report any and all test results indicating or detecting the presence of a pesticide contamination at any level other than non-detect. These reports must be to the commission within 24 hours. And that is whether the licensee receives that that notification either in written form or orally. Additionally, any pesticide contamination at or above 10 parts per billion will be subject to an automatic monetary fine. Before remitting any payment, the licensee may also elect to seek a confirmatory test from to confirm that detection from a commission-specified independent testing lab. Also during that probationary period, the licensee must submit 10% of its total test samples as a duplicate or quality control sample in accordance with section 5.4 of the commission's testing protocol. This is double the amount required by all licensees in that protocol. We also, just as a additional note on this, are planning on issuing a bulletin just reminding all of our licensees about this obligation in the testing protocol as well. And then finally, commission investigators may take random test samples in accordance with our authority in the regulations already, but at either cultivation facility that's subject to this action. So before concluding, I just want to take a moment to thank and recognize the efforts of our staff that contributed to this investigation and the agreement and the proposed agreement before you, including our Chief of Investigations and Enforcement, Nom Kalisi Kumalo, as well as our Director of Investigations, Catherine Benkoski, and Investigations Manager, Colin Soper, and then any and all current and former staff that also contributed to this. I do want to emphasize that these are a team effort as well. So we recommend ratification of this agreement as an appropriate resolution to these violations. The proposed remedy recognizes Curaleaf's admission to the Commission's findings of violations, its cooperation with the Commission during our investigation, as well as the subsequent informal dispute resolution conference, and its willingness to take continued efforts to restore its good standing with the Commission. With that, I am available to take any questions that the board may have.
Any questions from my colleagues? Commissioner Rowe?
Thank you. And thank you, Enforcement Council. Good. And to clarify, both of these stipulated agreements, both of them were self-reports, right? They both self-reported to the Commission?
Correct. That's correct. And we definitely encourage our licensees to continue to do that. It's really a partnership between the Commission and our licensees that we hope is cooperative and results in a safe and equitable industry for the people of the Commonwealth. So it's a joint effort, and we do commend them for coming forward with these reports too.
And just to reiterate, one was an $85,000 fine with affirmative relief, which are actions we prescribe to encourage compliance, and an $80,000 fine with affirmative relief with the same, different actions we prescribe to remain in compliance. Yep. Some folks might hear these fines and think they're heavy-handed. Other folks might hear these fines and think they're not, they don't go far enough. And they did self-report, and these are agreed upon fines and actions, if you will. This is entered into mutually, not under coercion. And I just want to reiterate that for folks listening.
Great point. Great point. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the stipulated agreement as recommended by Enforcement Council for Curaleaf Inc. I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy. Is there a second, Commissioner Camargo? Motion made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, take a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo, Commissioner Roy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you both very much, and thanks to your team and the INE team for all the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I make
now, Mr. Enforcement Council Gooden, you wanted to provide some wrap-up comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, commissioners, for voting to ratify both of these stipulated agreements. So with each of those ratifications, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the Commission and the Investigations and Enforcement Department teams in particular for including all current and former staff that contributed to these. These do not happen overnight. So some folks have left the team, new folks have joined, and really everybody plays a part in resolving these. So with these two ratifications, this calendar year, we've resolved 6 enforcement actions through a final order and stipulated agreement. So these agreements have now resulted in, or will result in, $785,000 deposited into the Marijuana Regulation Fund, as well as the affirmative relief that is tailored to each of these enforcement actions and agreements that the Commission is using and will continue to use to ensure continued compliance by these licensees. So just for context, prior to 2024, since 2019, the Commission has resolved, I believe it's 11 matters through a similar process. So here with 6, we're really kind of increasing that total figure. I mentioned the amount that is being deposited into the regulation fund based on the 6 enforcement actions we've agreed to this year. But for additional context, prior to this year, the amount that we collected in total fines was just north of $2 million. So we're nearly at half that amount. But I do want to say, Commissioner Roy, to your point earlier as well, the commission has utilized other enforcement tools such as summary suspension orders, cease and desist orders, and quarantine orders. These are in addition to notices of deficiency, which are really our kind of day-to-day bread and butter tool to use to ensure compliant operations by licensees. But I just wanted to really highlight this achievement of the Investigations and Enforcement Department. We're constantly trying to improve our processes, get better, more efficient, and make sure that we're reaching reasonable and equitable resolutions to these matters. And really, at the end of the day, our goal is ensuring public health, safety, and welfare. So we understand that it's a constant project to continue to improve and develop these, but just wanted to recognize at this point that achievement by all of the teams involved. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Keep going. Everybody got it? All right. We'll move on to commission discussion and votes. Obviously, we took care of one of these items with the point of sale systems discussion with our guests from Dutchie. But the first item up is the Executive Director Search Subcommittee update with our acting Executive Director.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr.
Hi, Debbie.
Chairman. Hi, how are you? Thank you. And good afternoon again, everyone. This is an exciting part of our presentation today, and I am super excited to present this update. So we're going to go slide by slide, and we'll just take just a few seconds on each slide to reflect where we started. And I think everybody will be equally excited. Maybe I would venture to say more excited than I am regarding where we are right now in terms of the ED search. And I mean that sincerely. So, okay. So we started in May, as you know, where we launched. We ended up with open meeting law compliance guidance document that was shared with the subcommittee. We went on to vote in members of the subcommittee that were approved by the commission. Subcommittee convened between May 24th and June 15th. June 14th, we actually started taking a look at our first meeting to start taking a look at our candidates and requirements, as well as overall process moving forward. Members of the subcommittee were tasked with reviewing resumes. We went on June 15. We had accomplished the closing of the positions and posted 173 applicants, and I think that might have been actually 174 with the additional late entrant that we had accepted into the process. Next slide, please. Then between June 16th and the end of June, we started screening of applicants. Actually, we continued the screening of applicants, and screening continued on into July. And at the during the July timeframe, sorry, sometimes it's a little bit distracting when something pops up on your screen. So at the July meeting, during July 1, subcommittee of the subquorum of the subcommittee members reviewed all resumes. Approximately 60 were subjected to additional review by the full subcommittee. The subquorum was tasked with identifying applicants who far exceeded that requirement. And in July 16th through the 31st, subcommittee selected candidates to participate in virtual screens. And August 1st, subcommittee identified at least 15 candidates for initial virtual screening and voted to review any application received after the submission deadline. And then this is the one of the most significant pieces of this whole process. August 12th through the 27th, we started the virtual screens, and those were completed. And next slide, please.
September 5th through the 10th. First round interviews were conducted. So applicants or candidates, I'm sorry, it's not applicants anymore. They're candidates once they're moved on in the process. So candidates from the initial screening were now in the first round interviews. Those were conducted between September 5th and September 10th. And the 16th through the 30th, the subcommittee, and this is where the meat of the update comes, September 16th through September 30th, subcommittee met and voted to select top 3 candidates who would appear before commissioners. Subquorum of the subcommittee met to begin looking at the logistics of a plan for the final interviews. So this was an extremely exciting moment for the subcommittee. And, you know, I just want to pause to give recognition to the subcommittee. And I don't know if our CTIO is listening, but this is where I would have wanted the band to come out. And I'm still looking for those digital celebratory, you know, flashes on our screen when we get to pivotal moments. So, so this is what was especially exciting for us. And the logistics plan is in draft right now. October 1st through October 4th, subcommittee met to close out virtual and first round interviews, and moving on to October 10th through the end of October. And this is really our plan going forward. So the subcommittee is slated to meet next week to finalize recommendations for the top 3. Subquorum of the subcommittee will report on logistics for the final interviews with input from the subcommittee before finalizing. Interview date will be set at that point. Then, of course, subsequent to that, and this is why I have in big bold letters to the left, the goal is anticipated to be met. So we are hoping to meet our goal by the end of October. So this is super exciting. This is where we are. And I'm hoping, you know, if all goes well, we will have notified the candidates that interview day is coming up, and we will have our interview day, and of course, you know, an offer subsequent to the interview, and a start date to be determined and negotiated. So I just can't thank everyone enough. I thank the commissioners for their patience. I thank the subcommittee, which was primarily led by Acting Chair Stebbins. Thank you for your leadership with the committee. And we expect to wrap up the ED search by the end of October. So that is my report. Super exciting. And again, I hope you guys are more excited than I am, because I think this is a wonderful report and day for our commission.
Okay. Before I invite any questions, just add on to our acting executive director's comments. Again, really appreciate the team that has been working on this. I know every time that we schedule the day of interviews, it means we're taking them away from other work that they had to get done. But, you know, this was a search committee team that really touched across the commission in terms of the folks that participated. We're excited to get to these final steps. Obviously, our goal is to interview all of the candidates on the same day, just so somebody can't sit at home and watch and see what questions, since all the questions have to be the same. So that's where the subquorum working on the logistics is very important. But obviously, we're also looking at your calendars right now to hold 2 potential dates to have that interview day, as Debbie has bolded it and put it in quotation marks on the presentation. But if there are any questions for Debbie, happy to entertain those. Commissioner Roy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Acting Executive Director Hilton Creek, for the update. This is exciting news, and I want to thank the Acting Chair Stebbins for his leadership in the subcommittee and the subquorum committees. And I guess my question is, the top 3 I see next week top 3 are notified. Is that
Yes.
for the interview day, or do they already know they're the top three? They're just waiting on the interview day?
Yes,
So they know they're the top three?
absolutely.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Piggybacking on hers.
Other
Yeah, Commissioner.
question?
Yes,
Commissioner
thank you.
Vargas?
Thank you. Piggybacking on Commissioner Roy's question, and I don't want to assume, but the folks who did not go through who didn't make it to this final round, they will be notified before interview day, correct?
Yes, so that's an excellent question. So part of the process throughout the entire process, as we had not moved a candidate on, they were notified. And they were notified. So we thought that it would be best to build that into the process. And the committee also, the subcommittee also voted on making sure that individuals were notified. So as we move forward in the process and we you know, pretty much went through the applications and the candidates and, you know, reviewed and interviewed, we decided that we really needed to you know, notify individuals as they were no longer going to be moving forward in the process.
I have another question.
We felt that was an efficient way of making sure that that happened.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Debbie, this is more of a, I know interviews are very difficult. Folks get nervous. They're awkward. This is a big role. Everyone is sort of looking at the CCC. Are we gonna factor anything in terms of like when these candidates come in, do they just come in and sit here like cold turkey, or like, are we gonna have a little kind of, you know, folks here to kind of meet and greet and kind of, because I say that to say that this is just me personally on a professional development and kind of people kind of person mentality that I have. I want to make sure that these three candidates are coming here and that they're feeling comfortable to be their best selves, right? And be able to like shine, and because this is a lot of pressure. Obviously they signed up for it and I'm excited for them, but it's a lot of pressure, especially if interview day is in public. And, you know, sometimes people think, you know, commissioners are scary. So I want to make sure that these folks are going to feel some kind of, you know, normality, however that sounds, in this process. And I know you're our chief people officer as well. So I want to make sure that we incorporate some of that stuff, whether it's have them like walk around the offices, kind of look at the place, you know, just a little kind of, you know, meet and greet before we grill these folks for a job. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, and that's a great question. Another component of the process that we had built in was that we wanted the whole process, the entire process, from the screening of the resumes and the contact and constant communication, you know, with the candidates, that we were doing just that. We were building into the process a component that would make them feel comfortable. And one of the reasons that I had recommended we started with the virtual screens was to give them the opportunity to be comfortable in front of a camera, in comfortable knowing that you know, there were individuals that were interviewing them. In addition to that, we had the subcommittee as part of the process reviewing the candidates as they were being interviewed. They were all notified that the subcommittee would be in the background reviewing, you know, the interview, or viewing the interview at the time it was occurring, to give them some level of comfort when they get to the public meeting, to know that that format will continue. So we've had that conversation with candidates throughout the process, and I'm hoping that, you know, candidates, and we have not received any negative comments regarding that process. I think they all have been comfortable with it, and it gave them, you know, a sense of this is what interview day will be like. And I do, I'm sorry, go ahead if you have another question.
Yeah, thank you, if I may. And I apologize for this, but can you remind me, so the interview day will be here in person?
Yes.
Correct, and those
Yes,
candidates will be
yes.
here in person, right? So
Yes.
no one will be virtual.
No one will be virtual.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I will, you're welcome. And if you go back up a little bit, if you look at October 10th through the 31st, just to clarify a couple points.
Yep.
So when we meet next week, the committee will report on logistics for the final interviews. We had a subquorum who had been working on the logistical planning for that particular day. And so we've already had some staff members who've stepped up to volunteer for that day. So it is going to be, a production that will be sensitive not only to the candidates, but also will incorporate the addition of staff members so that, they also have some sort of ownership in the process and in bringing on our new ED. And we've tried to do that throughout the entire process for the staff as well.
Yeah.
Next week, I have on my report, next week, top 3 candidates are notified. That sounds like it's here and now, but that candidates will be notified next week. After the committee meets. Candidates have not been notified as yet. So next week, candidates will be notified of interview day.
Commissioner Roy?
Okay, so they do not know they're in the top 3 at this point?
Next week, the top 3 will be notified of scheduled interview day. This is the notification next week.
Thought they've been notified they're in the final round. They just don't know the day, or they have not been notified at all that they're in the final round.
They have been notified. They just have not. They just have not gotten information regarding interview day. Exactly.
Okay.
Just for clarity, again, next week, the subcommittee is meeting to finalize its recommendations on the top 3. And then next week, the top 3 are notified and obviously scheduled for interview day.
That's different than what she.
Okay, so I'm sorry if there's some confusion here. So perhaps I should have separated the dates. I'm sorry about that. I should have separated the dates. I should probably not have listed everything under October 10th through the 31st. But these are the activities that will occur, coming up next week.
Commissioner Roy?
Okay. Acting Chair Steph, have the top 3 been notified in any capacity that they're in the final round?
I haven't done that. So I again, defer to our acting ED and the HR team that's been.
So we have notified individuals who are in the top 3. So there is some informal notification to the top 3. So let me put it that way. Because of the process and because of what was required to get to interview day, some of the requirements to get to interview day, the top 3 candidates have been informally notified. So I will say that next week they will be formally notified and scheduled for interview day. And again, I'm sorry, without revealing the entire process and again being sensitive to candidates with whom we are working, sometimes it's not always easy for HR to share as much information as, commissioners or the public would like to have. And so I just want to say I'm very committed to guarding the integrity of this process. And so unfortunately, sometimes some information we may not share right away.
Commissioner.
Thank you. And thank you, Debbie, for the clarification. And I know when we started this process that we agreed we wanted to cast a wide net when we posted the job description and the application. Are you able to say at this time if the final 3 are they all Massachusetts or local candidates, or are any of them from other areas regionally? Are you able to say that?
I can absolutely speak to, and I'm going to give you this information, but please do not ask me to give candidates names.
No, I
because
wouldn't.
that's a part of, guarding the integrity of the process. I can say that we have 2 candidates currently from the state of Massachusetts and 1 outside of the state of Massachusetts.
Debbie.
Yes.
I think that's a little bit too much information to share at this point.
Okay, my apologies.
No worries. But yes, I can offer a broader answer. Again, we had 170 resumes that came in. You saw the work that the subquorum did to cull through that 170 and produce candidates that we walked through this individual rounds. The subquorum did meet and speak. Well, we had a subquorum that did that. We had a subquorum that prepared questions, and we've created a subquorum to work through the logistics for the final day.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Of course.
My apologies again. I did not, from a recruitment perspective, I did not feel that it would be information that we could not freely share. And so my apologies.
Thank you, Debbie.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
No, this is great. Looking forward to it. Debbie, thank you so much for all the background, especially as it pertains to my question and kind of just making sure that folks feel comfortable to shine. I really appreciate, thank you for all the work. And yeah, looking forward to interview day and the next round. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You will both have homework assignments to generate questions in advance.
Can you send us an email?
Huh?
Are you gonna send us an email?
Yes. And we're working with legal to see if you can see the questions that have already been shared. Again, I think I spoke about this at a previous meeting. You can see the questions that have already been asked to all the candidates. You can choose to ask them yourselves if you want to hear the answer to those questions, but at the same time, give you a sense of what already has been asked, and then you can decide whether you want to ask that question again or create new questions.
Yeah.
So we'll work through both of you with the logistics.
Yeah. Commissioner Stebbins, and I'm happy to talk to you about this offline, but if we're going to do the interviews in this room, I would really encourage us to rethinking how to recreate this room so that we're all kind of looking at each other and the candidates also kind of maybe how we did executive session, right? Because this is like a room full of chairs right now. And yeah, we should just think about how do we create a better energy for an interview when we do that.
Okay. All right. I like that idea.
Yeah. I'm happy to rearrange the room.
Sometimes looking up and down the row at each other is challenging. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Welcome.
All right. Moving on. Again, we talked about the point of sale system, and we'll move on to a complaint tip line update. Commissioner Roy.
Thank you, Chair Stebbins. So the commission routinely receives complaints from members of the public and industry via mail, email, and telephone. Complaints regarding non-compliance are given to the investigations and compliance team for further due diligence review. This process typically entails outreach to complainants, any affected licensees, requests for documentation, interviews with registered agents and/or licensee ownership and controlling individuals. This outreach is meant to ascertain whether the underlying complaint warrants further enforcement action up to and including suspension and revocation of the license. While the commission does not comment on the status of an inquiry or investigation so as not to bias the public or the commissioners as the agency's final decision makers, all complaints are reviewed by agency staff and are followed up on. In addition, constituents often reach out to commissioners and staff directly with questions and feedback. Those inquiries are also routed to the relevant department for follow-up. Currently, there are ways to submit a tip or complaint to the commission. Number one is on the commission email, commission@cccmass.com. The second way is there's a general contact form on our website listed here on the slide. And there's the main phone number, 774-415-0200. And while these are all great ways, these particular platforms are not solely dedicated to fielding tips and complaints. Medical patients may have questions on renewals of their medical patient card. There could be a myriad of just general inquiries. So these aren't solely dedicated for complaints or tips. But today I'm happy to announce that there is an ongoing development is currently underway of a dedicated tip line for the public to share concerns or potential violations of commission regulations. If you see something, say something. This is something that is long overdue, and quite frankly, it is the right thing to do. I look forward to working with our IT department and appropriate staff at the commission over the coming weeks during the development, completion, and implementation of a new tip line, as well as the creation of a dedicated submit a tip email address. And I just want to thank Acting Executive Director Hilton Creek. I want to thank Paul Clark, our Chief of IT, and our Chief of Staff, Andrew Carter, who are also, we talked through this, and, it seems easy, wave a magic wand, and we have a tip line, but there are some steps that do need to be taken internally. We want to make sure that this will be one-stop repository for tips, for complaints, and that we have the appropriate staff who will not only receive them, but triage them appropriately. So we want to make sure we're very mindful and thoughtful. This January will be 2 years for the passing of Lorna McMurray, and we mourn her death still. And as a result, we've heard from folks that are advocating for a tip line, not only for worker safety, but anything they see that's questionable around compliance that would jeopardize public health or public safety. We want to make sure folks have one place that they know that they can contact us and provide us that information, and it's handled appropriately, and we handle all complaints. Currently, we do that, so I don't want to sound like we haven't been. Well, we do. It's just that we haven't had one platform solely dedicated to receiving this information, and now we will. So I'm very excited to announce this. I also want to thank the members of EON who also advocated for this as well. I want to thank them for that input. And I think Debbie, are you still with us? I think you wanted to provide some comments around this announcement as well.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Roy. So yeah, I think this was something that had began previous to my arrival, and when Commissioner Roy brought this up again, it just seems to me to be a feasible way of making sure that we're responding to some of our constituents' concern. And I think this is a process that is going to take some time. It's not a process that we can implement overnight. However, as the public knows, we do have, a way of fielding tips and complaints currently, and we will continue to use that platform until we can put this particular process in place. This has become an initiative with multiple staff members who are going to be working on this, and some of the staff members who we're going to be reaching out to, they haven't been apprised of this yet, but we're in the foundational stage right now. We're casting the framework, and we're hoping to, get some steam in this and to get this in place. We also have to look at some other areas, you know, where this is going to live in terms of within the walls of the commission. We also have to look at, will we need additional staffing to accommodate this? So this is a huge initiative for us also, and we are committed to continuing with the process until we get to the point where we have the desired outcome. Thank you, Commissioner Roy.
Thank you, Debbie.
Just a quick question, and thank you, Commissioner Roy, for your work on this. I know you've talked about this for quite some time. It's great to see it coming through to fruition. It's great to have another avenue by which folks can reach out to us. Is there, you know, I'm going to call the tip line. Obviously, I want to raise a complaint. Are we asking for the individual's name so we can circle back with them? I'm mindful of, we don't want to just field complaints that our team runs off to look at. And it might be, I don't want to say it's a frivolous complaint, but we want to make sure we can kind of validate somebody's complaint when they call it.
Sure, that's a great question. And thank you, Chair Stebbins. Yes, because as you know, we wouldn't want frivolous complaints, and many times more information is needed to ascertain the complaint. I know the Attorney General's office, we had training recently, and they require that information to make sure that they can follow up on any leads or tips or complaints. So you know, we will need information so we can appropriately contact the person who is filing the tip or the complaint, especially if we need to gather more information.
Okay. Commissioner Camargo, you have any questions?
Yeah, just kind of questions, comments. Commissioner Roy, thank you for bringing this to the agenda. I think it's important. We've talked about it, and I don't remember whether you had brought this up a couple of years ago or another commissioner. But thank you, and I'm glad that this update is here. I mean, we've said this in the past. We sometimes don't know what each other is working on until we get to public meetings. So thank you. I think this is great. And, you know, we do get a lot of constituent emails and sometimes we're the troubleshooters and we got to sort of chase information and everything else. So I think this is great. And yeah, looking forward to understanding it as well and making sure we know how to manage it. And that, like, I think Debbie, like you said, you know, we're going to need staff and, you know, I always, you know, we have our new general counsel here, which I appreciate. It's like, you know, a lot of like legal questions. Sometimes folks call us as if we're attorneys, you know, at the commission. And so this is going to be good and just educating the public on what the tip line is and what it's not. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Camargo.
Yeah.
No vote necessary, I don't think, but do you want to come back at another point and give us an update when it's up and running or functional or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the point where we are ready to go operational, we will make an announcement to the public so they know this is this option is available to them. We will make sure that folks know what the phone number is, what the email address is. We work with our comms team to make sure that the public is aware. You know, I'm excited when we get to that day where we're able to announce it and share it.
Commissioner Camargo?
Commissioner Roy, where is this going to live? In what department?
So this is what there's two options. It can live internally and, you know, probably we went back and forth, perhaps with legal. It would be, you know, folks with legal expertise would probably be the most appropriate place to house it. If we decide to go with an external partner, which external partners do handle tip lines for other folks, then it wouldn't live within the agency. It would get reported to the agency, probably to legal, and what legal should be aware of these things, and then triage it to the appropriate staff at the commission. So either way, it's going to end up in some capacity with our legal team and then triage appropriately from there.
Who's going to decide that?
This is what we're going to meet with legal, I&E. We're going to meet with the staff on Chief Kamalo to determine where we think is the most, and feel free. I mean, if you want to join part of this discussion, I'd love to have you to determine the best place where it needs to be housed.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to if you're not working with anybody else, just out of curiosity, because I did a lot of this sort of stuff at a prior place.
And I'd love to have you.
So I'm just very curious of how this is going to look.
Take you up on that.
Yeah. No, send me a calendar invite.
Yep.
I'm happy to be to join
Awesome.
the conversation. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thanks, Commissioner Roy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. The next item, I believe, is also yours, Commissioner Roy.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Nope,
sorry.
it's not.
I jumped ahead. I think we are, hi, Matt. We're discussing the 7th annual activities report.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Of course.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm pleased to present the 7th Annual Activities Report for the Cannabis Control Commission. The Commission is mandated by Chapter 55 of the Acts of 2017 to submit this report on an annual basis. Similar to Director Burt's presentation this morning, this report summarizes some of the major highlights and milestones from the previous fiscal year from throughout the agency. Like previous years, we hope this document can be shared with constituents and stakeholders to tell the story of much of the work we have accomplished. I'd like to thank every department and the acting executive director for their comments and edits to completing this report. Additionally, I'd like to particularly thank the Digital and Creative Services team for their work to bring this report to life, and to the Government Affairs and Policy team for directing this project. Upon your approval, staff will disseminate the report to legislative leaders and appointing authorities as mandated by statute, as well as publish it to our website. Thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Okay. The full report was in our board meeting book. I had a chance to look at it. I have one minor tweak or minor question, but Commissioner Camargo?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm actually going to print it. I want to kind of, I've read it online, but I like to highlight it. Thank you so much. I love it. It's more friendly than the past in terms of pictures and just really seeing the work that we've done. Matt, I think I asked you this before, very, very silly minutia, but online you can't see the page numbers, but I think it's a template that we're using online. Since we have the index, I'm like, where are the page numbers, right? And I ask you this every year, Matt, and I'll ask you again, but tell us who this report goes to at the State House, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can certainly add page numbers. This report will be shared with the Governor's Office, the Treasurer's Office, the Office of the Attorney General, the House Clerk, the Senate Clerk, the co-chairs of the Joint Committee on Cannabis Policy, and the co-chairs of the Joint Committee on Ways and Means. As a rule, though, we also distribute it to the full membership of the Cannabis Policy Committee.
Okay. And follow-up question. Who's echoes that? Somebody has their volume on? Okay. All right. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I'm going to pause for 1 second.
Okay.
Volume. Yeah,
Right.
volume threw me off.
All right. I'll jump over to Commissioner Roy.
I'm having a moment right now.
Matt, this is a great report. I spoke to you yesterday about it, and I wanted to, thank you to all the departments. I know it was many hands make for light work, and a lot of folks contributed to this. And I just have one suggestion, and this isn't the final version, right? So we can recommend a couple edits.
Certainly, and you could move to approve the report subject to any edits that are made today.
Okay, so I think it would be great, and unless I missed it, and if I did, I apologize, that we are now allowing marijuana transport through state waters. I think that's important, that the commission acted rapidly with a supply chain issue on the island, and there are patients, medical patients who would not be served. I think it just shows that we worked rapidly. If we could add that, and also that the commission is now not only had a public listening session at Martha's Vineyard, but Great Barrington with our cultivators, our outdoor cultivators, and our ITLs. The commission looks forward to hosting more public listening sessions I think that just shows an attentiveness and responsive posture by the commission to listen to our licensees.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly add that in.
Thank you, Matt.
Commissioner Camargo, back to you.
Yes, I'm back. You guys know my hamster's always running. Matt, I'm just thinking about the outreach and where folks will find this, right? So just obviously we know who it's going to at the State House. I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume. So, help me out here. Is it going to go on our website? Are we going to promote it on social media? Are we sending it out in a new, so just kind of tell me a little bit about that, because it does showcase a lot of our work, and Commissioner Roy's comments, I agree as well. If we can do that, that would be great. But who reads this, right? And how do we allow folks to read this? Because there's a lot in there, and it would be great to share.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It will be posted to the website, and we can certainly share it via social media channels. It's a very durable report. It's really useful throughout like the entirety of the year because it really highlights a lot of the work that we've been doing in the previous year. So I think it's important to show in one convenient place all of that work. It's certainly a lengthy document, but I think it is important to really show the breadth of all of the work that the various departments are conducting here.
Follow-up question, Matt. And I'm just thinking about sort of the 3 working groups that Commissioner Stebbins and I have talked about as it relates to social consumption in terms of after we release it. But one of them is around municipalities and educating municipalities on what's going to come down the pipeline when we do talk about social consumption. So it just made me think about this report. Do we send it to municipalities, or can we send it to the MMA or some of the trade groups so that they can get it out to their membership? Again, because it's a very useful tool. And for some of these towns that, don't have as many resources or are not in communication with the CCC on a regular basis, we should always stay in touch, always educate, create awareness. And Commissioner Stebbins and I have been, working every other day on social consumption. So, starting to sort of knock on folks' door, hey, CCC here, it's just like a good refresher in terms of continuing to partner with people and letting them know we're here. And, again, just kind of thinking about connecting dots in the community and municipalities to educate folks on the work that we do, but the work that it's also coming. So thank you.
Thank you. And absolutely, we can certainly share it with those stakeholder groups. And I would also encourage, other team members here at the commission to make use of the report in their own interactions with constituents. It really is a report for the entire agency, and is a really kind of a testament to the work that folks are doing. And it has a ton of helpful statistics, charts, figures, so it can be used as a quick reference form as well.
Absolutely. One more follow-up, if I may.
Yeah,
Matt,
sure.
can you just also send a quick little email to us commissioners that says, hey, we did this once you're done with all that outreach, just so that we know
Sure.
that outreach has been done? Because we're talking to elected officials, we're talking to municipalities right now, we're talking to so many folks, and it would be nice to know that we've done the outreach and that folks have it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Matt, I had a couple of questions for you. And understand there's, as talented as you are, I know you don't pull this all together by yourself, but you work with our incredible team. They submit things from their different departments. Does the report have a deadline by which, when I mean a deadline, like this is our activity up to a certain date? Because I hear Commissioner Roy's point. There's some additional things that we have added. I'm just wondering if there was, this report covers X date to X date. Is that?
Yes, it generally covers July through July of the previous year. That being said, it's not a hard and fast rule. Depending on when particular parts of a draft become ready, there might be some that bleed over into August, or some that are really closer to that July 1st deadline. But we really try to keep it to tracking July to July, just for consistency's sake from previous years.
Okay. Is there and I want to entertain this conversation with my colleagues because things like the Great Barrington hearing happened after this July to July deadline. Obviously, it's great material to start off next year's report, but if there's consideration of I don't know, I can't remember, Matt, which typically goes out. Is there a cover letter that goes with this where we could mention some of those things that have happened since kind of the reporting period for the report might have expired?
We can certainly add that. I think that would make sense.
I don't know if that would be amenable for both of
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Commissioner Stebbins. That makes sense in terms of the timing of it. And always we can save it for next year too.
The vineyard fell within that timeline.
The Vineyard, I think, did fall, right? But that was early June. We were out there. Okay. Yeah, we definitely want to add the June listening session on the Vineyard.
And that we now allow marijuana transport through state waters.
Right.
That can be added, absolutely.
Okay.
And,
All right.
and we can develop a cover letter.
Okay,
Awesome.
that's great.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you very much. I think we need a motion to approve the 7th annual activities report. I would seek a motion to approve the CCC's 7th annual activities report, subject to some of the amendments discussed amongst commissioners at this meeting. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Roy?
So moved.
Commissioner Camargo, you second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Take a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Roy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye, 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, Matt.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. And
Thank you,
I should
Matt.
note that the final version will be shared with the commissioners prior to dissemination, just so that you do have a chance to look at the final edit.
Awesome.
Okay. One more crack at it. All right.
Thank you.
Next item. Independent Testing Lab Listening Session Overview. Commissioner Roy, this is yours.
Yes, thank you, Chair Stebbins. Yes, so as previously discussed, but again, we'll just share it with the public. We're excited to announce that we're going to have a listening session with our independent testing laboratories, which I believe there are 15 in operation right now. As we have previously had listening sessions out in the Vineyard, we had one out in Great Barrington with the outdoor cultivators. Testing seems to be on the forefront of a lot of folks' mind, and not only here in Massachusetts, but nationwide. But it's important to hear from our different groups of licensees, because they have different concerns and challenges that they face within the industry. So just to remind folks, it'll be November 7th at 10 a.m. We were planning to hold it here at Union Station. We will accommodate overflow if for whatever reason that the room does fill up. In the past, the commission has had accommodations where they've had monitors and screens for overflow capacity. So again, we're excited to host a listening session. We all feel that they're highly productive and informative, and look forward to hearing from our labs. Our outdoor cultivators shared with us their concerns around our current regulatory scheme, around testing, around total mold and yeast counts, aerobic counts, as well as batch sizes. So I'm curious to hear what the independent testing labs have to say in regards to those issues and other issues. So again, hopefully these are I think you said once a quarter, Chair Stebbins. I think that's a great idea. I fully support that. So again, November 7th in person, 10 a.m. Here. And I'm going to ask Matt, our Director of Government Affairs and Policy, if there will be an option for folks to submit written testimony as well for those that are unable to make the trip here into Worcester. But again, looking forward to this listening session.
Thank you, Commissioner. Matt?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage anyone interested in submitting a public comment about this issue to submit it to the Commission's email address at commission@cccmass.com. We will then take those comments and share them with commissioners for their review in a similar fashion as we've conducted other public comment periods.
Thanks, Matt. Commissioner Camargo, you have any thoughts, comments?
I don't.
Okay, all right.
I actually do, but I'm gonna save them. That's, I'm gonna put them in an email.
Okay. No, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Commissioner Roy, for setting this up. Great to have it in the middle of the state, which is accessible for everybody. Certainly they can take commuter rail out to our offices. But obviously, you know, the work of our independent testing labs really touches the entire industry supply chain. So it's as much as we look forward to hearing from the independent testing labs, similar to the Great Barrington listening session, licensees from all of our various categories took the opportunity to step up and talk about various testing issues. So it is certainly, it's a public meeting open to the public, and we invite not only our ITLs to be here to participate, but certainly folks throughout the industry that want to weigh in on any topics related to testing and our current regulations. Okay. And obviously our team, similar to Great Barrington, are invited to join us as well. It's not just for the three of us, but we want all of our staff to hear the conversation and think through how it may impact their work. And they might, you know, as we're doing some follow-up on the previous listening session, it's good to have our staff included in hearing those conversations as well. Okay. All right, next slide. Okay, upcoming meetings. First of all, I think, bear with me for a second. There is no business that the chair did not anticipate at time of posting. I do want to, I want to apologize to our acting executive director. I kind of jumped in on ahead of her as she was talking about where our top three candidates are from. They are two from in-state and one from out of state. So my apologies, Debbie. I didn't mean to jump in on top of you as you're finishing your comments. There's no new business that I didn't anticipate, none from my other commissioners. Our next meeting date, we have an opening in public session tomorrow. We have an executive session for the commission tomorrow. Our upcoming meetings, as we currently have them scheduled, October 22nd is the meeting to finalize regulations. November 7th is our testing lab listening session. As Commissioner Roy just pointed out, we'll be here in Worcester. November 14th, we'll be right back here in Worcester for our monthly public meeting. And then right now we have December 12th scheduled as our public meeting for the month of December. Commissioner Roy.
And also we're going to be adding meetings for the interviews of the ED.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
And tomorrow is remote.
Tomorrow is remote. Don't be here. I mean, you can be here as long as you have your laptop. Any other comments, questions before we wrap up? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. Thank you to our entire team. Welcome to our new GC, and thanks everybody for your participation.
Nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Wow, record.